Welcome to our preview of the FIA Motorsport Games 2022, as we take a look at what will be the biggest celebration of motorsport in history. And it's coming to France. With an estimated 90 countries competing, this is about pride, passion, the drivers, the disciplines, and most of all, the motorsport. This is more than just racing. This is a battle of the nations.
Buonasera Roma, welcome to FIA Motorsport Games.
The first ever FIA Motorsport Games is here at Vallelunga. This is a chance to have a look at the nations, the drivers. It is a truly worldwide, a global entry across 6 disciplines that make up the FIA Motorsport Games.
We're here in Marseille, where the opening ceremony will take place and the south of France will play host to the motorsport activities in 2022. As we go to Le Castellet and the Circuit de Paul Ricard for the track action and the Digital Cup, we head to Autocross Venois for the cross car events, as well as the region of Saint-Bon for the rally stages.
The disciplines have expanded from the 6 in 2019 to an epic 18 in 2022, but more about that later in the programme. Right now, we're at the epicentre of where it will all begin. So let's take a closer look and show you what you can expect as the FIA Motorsport Games returns bigger and better than ever.
I met up with Aurélien Gargeau, who is the Director of Operations, and Elias Gounet, Operations Assistant for the opening ceremony, in front of the famous museum in the port of Marseille.
This is where the opening ceremony is going to be taking place. So what can we expect to see here this time next year?
Nous allons avoir la chance de recevoir les spectateurs, les partenaires pour la présentation des pilotes. Pour cela, une grande scène sera installée ainsi que des tribunes pour accueillir tout le monde pour ce show magnifique.
And here we're going to have the great stage where all the pilots are going to present themselves, and we're going to have 2 grandstands in front of the museum, which is going to host the whole public and partners.
And I believe that the driver briefing is also taking place here.
Oui, tout à fait.
Yeah, we're really excited about hosting all the drivers in here for the briefing. It's going to be kind of the beginning of the ceremony for them.
Aurélien, we're here at the exterior of the museum, and of course the drivers are going to be waiting inside to step out in front of thousands of fans waving their country's flag. So why did you choose this location?
Dans un premier temps, on a choisi ce site car
So we chose this site firstly because it's on the coast, which represents the most Marseille, and it's an opening to the Mediterranean Sea also. And we are near the museum, which represents the whole civilization of Marseille and its history, and also because it's a magnificent place.
The port is going to play backdrop, and I can imagine that's just going to be an incredible visual.
Oui, et pour ça, on a
So yeah, we had the chance to work with hotel makers, which are going to take the whole site on lights to take some visual shows, animations, etc., to give the public even more great events.
Well, the competitors will already feel like champions from the beginning of the celebrations as the games start here in 2022. But let's take a look back at 2019 when Rome hosted the opening ceremony and a certain Tom Christensen arrived via chariot to mark the start of what was a memorable and adrenaline-fueled adventure and the inaugural FIA Motorsport Games. welcome to the show. I'm Louise Beckett and I'm joined by a competitor from the 2019 FIA Motorsport Games and one of GT Racing's elite, Sky Tempesta Racing Ferrari driver Chris Froggatt. Chris, it was great to catch up with Aurelien and Elias in Marseille to talk about 2022, but of course you were there in 2019 at the opening ceremony and competing. What will our competitors be feeling as they're going out onto that stage in the south of France?
Well, we were there in Rome in 2019. The opening ceremony there, unfortunately, was a little bit wet, but still the feeling was, I mean, just electric, the atmosphere, you know, having all of those competitors around from every country, all of the fans coming down to support you and really show their support at the opening ceremony was an amazing feeling. I mean, for me, representing my country in something that I love doing is really the most rewarding thing. And surrounding yourself with all the others that are coming to fight and do the same. It's a really nice atmosphere, and the feeling is really motivating. You know, it's a great start to the weekend. How
important is it for motorsport and for young drivers to be part of that and to have all those disciplines on the world stage?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's brilliant now, having even more disciplines than when we did it in 2019. But even then, you had such a variety, having the esports, the drifting, the karting. It was great to see all of those people at different stages in their career, and also for them to see what else is possible, to look at the GT and see, okay, that's maybe what I want to get into, or even some of the other categories. I think it's really aspirational and also highlights a lot of talent around the place.
So for those of you that haven't heard of the FIA Motorsport Games, it's an Olympic-spirited motorsport event. It's a unique multi-discipline event that sees drivers competing in the colours of their national flag and is much more than just a sporting event. It's a global celebration of motorsports and nations with a spectacular opening and closing ceremony at the heart of it. And also for me, it was about seeing each country and the different levels of drivers and competitors within that. So Netherlands, for example, has got karters that haven't raced before, Tom Coronel, who's been racing touring cars and Dakar for years. You know, it's a wide spectrum.
Yeah, exactly. And you see a lot of people that perhaps you hadn't before. You get to follow their sorts of journeys. You know, someone like James Baldwin, who was in Team UK in 2019, that did the esports. He went on to do a year in GT3 and British GT in reality, and it was amazing to follow him and see him be very successful in real life driving as well as esports stuff. And yeah, I think it's a great stage to even show off talent and raise awareness of particular drivers.
Now, following the undisputed success of the inaugural edition of the FIA Motorsport Games, we will in 2022 see a targeted 90 nations competing across 18 racing categories, and it will take place from the 26th to the 30th of October in what you saw was the beautiful city of Marseille playing host. And how exciting is that to have the original 6 disciplines in 2019 moving on to 18? It's just incredible.
Yeah, amazing of the FIA to include so many more categories, to give that opportunity to more people to come and compete on that global stage. I think it's going to be very exciting.
And for the area as well, not just in the circuit.
Yeah, exactly. We've now got rally, and that's happening in a completely different facility. I mean, it's really very exciting, and I can't wait to see it, not just participate, but actually to watch some of the events.
Well, let's take a look at some of the original disciplines featured in the 2019 Games and also some of the new ones being brought in for 2022. We have the GT discipline, which of course you know well, and also Formula 4 makes a welcome return. We also have the touring cars, drifting and digital back for 2022, as well as the karting.
Yeah, not only the slalom from 2019, but now we've got the sprint and endurance for both seniors and juniors, so excited to see that.
And we've got the rally included for next year and cross-car junior and senior disciplines to look forward to.
And don't forget auto slalom, and rounding off the disciplines, we've got the FIA homologated LMP3 endurance category. So we'll have 2 drivers competing in each car in that, and that's going to be particularly exciting to watch, you know, cars like at Le Mans, really.
That's going to be great.
Yeah.
So plenty to look forward to, and someone that knows more than most about the Games, having been there in 2019 and who has raced in GT cars as well as esports around the world, is one of our guests today, James Baldwin. James, thank you for joining us. You started racing in Formula Fords in 2015, but you soon made the switch to sim racing. What made you decide to make that switch?
Well, I started karting at the age of 8, and then when I got to the age of 16, we had enough money as a family to put together a budget for 2 Formula Ford races, which in motorsport terms is not much, but generally speaking, it was about £10,000, which is a lot of money. And it kind of ruined us financially doing that, so we had to stop. So for 2 years, I wasn't doing anything, and I was missing it. I was thinking to myself, how am I going to fill that void of not racing anymore? And sim racing was the only thing to really substitute that. For £500, you can go and buy a very cheap wheel and pedals and a small rig, and you can just play and have fun. But for me, it was that competitive aspect, to be better than everyone else. And it just so coincided with the timing of gaming itself booming. And I was very lucky in the sense that I started it at exactly the right time. And the rest is kind of history, to be honest.
Now, 2019 was a massive year for you. You raced in the Race of Champions and you won the E-Rock World Final, as well as winning the National Nations Cup before also going on to win Season 2 of the World's Fastest Gamer. How was it for you to arrive at the Motorsport Games after such a fantastic year?
It was, I wanted to win that as well. So I wasn't really going in there thinking I'm the big shot, I just wanted to go in there and obviously do the UK proud, because it felt like the Olympics as such, going into it and you're representing your country. That was the year, if any year there was, that kind of changed my career path completely. Just a bit of luck, but good performance as well. Winning all these things just puts you on the map.
How was the FIA Motorsport Games competition different to anything else that you competed in?
It was a very unique event. It felt very different to any event I've been to before. As I say, it felt, because obviously I watched the Olympics on TV, it felt like the Olympics, the way there was a ceremony and you met all the other players from the different nations. You met everyone from Team GB as well. So Rory Butcher was in the touring car, Chris Froggatt in the GT car. So it was amazing to go there and see it all, but there was a bit of pressure there still to do well.
Well, as always, this discipline is going to be fiercely contested, but we hope that you'll be back and up there with the best, trying to take the esports title of the FIA Motorsport Games. We'll see you there. Thanks for joining us.
My pleasure. Thank you very much. Let's get the gold medal. Cheers.
An impressive young man, and someone that has interestingly had success in the real world of racing as well as the virtual world. He's done incredibly well, hasn't he, to cross over?
Yeah, James is very impressive, very driven. I got to know him in 2019 at the Motorsport Games, and since then followed his career. He did very well in the GTs and British GT and really showed that crossover is possible. He was very competitive, and I wish him all the best in 2022, and hopefully he does get himself a seat in real life as well.
Now, someone who knows everything there is to know about the Motorsport Games and the FIA itself is the FIA President, Jean Todt, and he sent this message highlighting the importance of returning in 2022.
Ladies, gentlemen, dear friends, the FIA Motorsport Games is a unique opportunity for our entire family to come together, from grassroots level to the elite, with women and men sharing the same passion for our sport. Our federation is fully committed to continuing its promotions and establishing the event as a key feature of tomorrow's sporting landscape. I strongly believe that the future is bright for this new form of racing, and I invite you all to join the event next year. I thank again the ASNs for their engagement and enthusiasm. Take care, stay well, and see you soon.
A man with a wealth of experience in making motorsport a success across so many different disciplines. Chris, it's great to see his enthusiasm, isn't it, about returning next year?
Yeah, fantastic to have the president of the FIA so fully on board with it. I remember seeing him 2019 in the pouring rain on the starting grid, and even then very excited by the idea, and with the introduction of more disciplines now, I think it's only going from strength to strength.
We were lucky enough to catch up with another winner from 2019 while he was competing in the GT World Challenge Europe Endurance Series in Barcelona, as our pit lane reporter Gemma Scott spoke with Hiroshi Hamaguchi to get his thoughts on the Motorsport Games.
Hiroshi, thank you very much for joining us. It's lovely to have yet another one of our champions joining us from the inaugural FIA Motorsport Games. Tell me, how was it representing your country?
Well, it was very exciting. I mean, you don't really get a chance to represent your country with the motorsport. So it was a very rare opportunity for me, and it was very pleased to be there.
Let's just cast our minds back to the final last year, because the conditions were incredibly difficult and constantly changing, from dry to damp to drying to wet again. How did you and your partner, Yukio Sashari, deal with those changing conditions?
I mean, Ukyo is now driving GT500 representing Honda. I mean, he's a real driver, and I was lucky to learn a lot of things from him. And the condition there back then was crazy, and I just had to be conservative yet aggressive. So, I mean, the team in Ukyo did a great job, I think.
Thank you so much for taking time out of your weekend, and we're very much looking forward to seeing you when the games return again in 2022. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Such a great driver and clearly a lover of motorsport, even though he didn't take it up himself until such a late age, actually.
Yeah, Hiroshi is, very familiar to myself. We competed against him this year in GT World Challenge Europe. That weekend they had something no one else did. They were pretty dominant. He and his teammate were very fast. The car was very good, and yeah, they're going to be good competition for the 2022 games.
We're delighted to welcome drifting to the FIA Motorsport Games. Ali, thank you for joining us. As a self-confessed adrenaline junkie from an early age, was racing always something you wanted to pursue?
Yeah, I've been into racing, and I've been trying to get into racing for ever since I remember. And ever since I remember, my parents have been trying to get me away from racing because of its all like risks and dangers, everything. And because my dad used to race motorbikes as well, and he had his fair share of accidents. So they tried really, really hard to get me away from racing, and I don't think that worked quite well. And here I am today.
You must be happy that the FIA included what some would describe as a lesser-known motorsport into the spotlight in 2019 Games, and they continue to support it into next year's competition as well.
Exactly. It is. Ever since the FIA accepted drifting under its wings and had it as an official motorsport governed and controlled by the FIA, and we've been seeing a lot of changes, a lot of approaches to the sport. I remember when I started, we had a really tough time trying to explain drifting to a lot of people, even from the racing guys. I remember I joined the FIA Institute Young Drivers Excellence Academy back in 2014 or 15 it was, and I was the only driver there that was into drifting, and I was amongst guys that did WRC2, Junior WRC, guys that did Formula 3, GP2. So all professional drivers from a lot of different disciplines, and I was the only guy that came from a drifting background. And back then drifting wasn't an official motorsport, and I remember how people looked at me, all the coaches and everyone, and I still managed to compete with the guys in all the tests and all the different variables and aspects of driving and racing. And I was sort of an ambassador of the sport back then in the FIA while it wasn't official, and having to see how this progressed into the FIA actually accepting drifting and holding such great events and finally acknowledging this sport is really rewarding.
Who do you expect to see as your main competitor in the 2022 competition?
Well, first of all, I've never been to Paul Ricard, and I've loved this track ever since I was a little kid. And even though the drifting is not going to be at the main track, at the GP track, it's still going to be nice to be able to be at that venue. From what I've heard and know, that we have a lot of new disciplines this year, so it's going to be a really, really action-packed weekend, and I think it's going to be a really good experience to see everyone and experience everything and see all the teams and all the guys. And what I'm looking forward to most is to showcase my own car that I built here with my own father, and to show people what the car is capable of and what I'm capable of, and hopefully secure a spot on the podium this year, next year, to be more precise. Yeah.
Well, Ali, thank you for joining us, and we wish you all the best going into next year and beyond, and we'll see you this time next year in 2022 for more adrenaline and octane-fueled drift racing. We look forward to it.
Yeah, thank you very much, Jake, for having me. I'm really looking forward to it, and I'm looking forward to meeting everyone. And I think this year is going to be different. It's going to be bigger, better, action-packed, and full of surprises, I hope. Good surprises. Yeah.
Now let's look at how countries get involved and the format of the event, as the ASNs, or National Sporting Associations of each country, are allowed to select one entry per nation for each discipline and then submit it via a digital FIA entry platform, which will open in June 2022. So let's take a look at some of the countries that are looking to take part in 2022 and see who we should be looking out for and who might take the gold in Marseille next year. Poland made a huge effort in establishing a great identity as a national team.
Przekraczamy swoje limity. Sięgamy za horyzont możliwości. Walczymy o najwyższe cele. Jesteśmy reprezentacją Polski. Razem walczymy o sukces na Igrzyskach Motorsportu. Polska!
Jazda! Very impressive. Yeah. Now let's take a look at Hong Kong and Luxembourg's integration of esports as one of the disciplines at the FIA Motorsport Games.
FIA 世界賽車錦標賽電競杯香港嘅選拔賽賽事得以成功舉辦，全賴各方單位努力嘅支持。今次呢個賽事嘅冠軍選手將可以代表香港出戰來屆嘅國際汽聯世界錦標電競杯嘅賽事。香港嘅賽車運動員將會繼續晉身響世界賽車大舞台。
Denmark was one of the nations participating in 2019. Let's hear from them and Ian, who was competing in the esports.
Hello everyone, I'm Bo Skovfod, Head of Communications at DASO, the Danish ASN and the Danish FIA Motorsport Games delegation. I'm here at a karting track just outside Copenhagen, where a number of pupils from the local public school are racing karts at the school time. October in Denmark is grey, it's wet and it's cold. A bit like today, standing here freezing, it's 10 degrees, a bit nippy. Like to much rather be in the south of France right now at the Circuit Paul Ricard. But today is about our Motorsport in Schools program whose overall winners get to go to the FIA Motorsport Games. Hopefully we'll see you all there in 2022. See you next year.
Mozambique has many motorsport activities going on, and we're really looking forward to seeing them in 2022 in Marseille. And now we can hear from the Team GB entry.
My name is Hugh Chambers. I'm the CEO of Motorsport UK. We are the national governing body in the UK for all four-wheeled motorsport. And as such, we represent a very diverse community of people of all ages who really enjoy, above all else, motorsport. We are extremely excited by the prospect of the FIA Motorsport Games, because at its very heart, it's about inclusivity. And it's about getting nations to bring forward representations of their sports that can all compete on a level playing field once a year. There really is something extraordinary about representing your country as an athlete. For Team GB, we can welcome that opportunity to have a showcase for the true diversity of the sport. We're really excited, and we're looking forward to next year.
Peru is one of the nations we haven't been able to welcome yet, but we'll embrace their presence in the next edition.
Hello, my name is Grace Hemerde, and I am the Peruvian representative of FIA and Women in Motorsport. This year we were preparing ourselves, myself with two other drivers, to compete in the karting endurance series of the FIA Games. Sadly, we are not going to compete this year, so now we have more time to practice for the next year. This year I've been competing in two championships, SCUSA and the USPKS, both in the US. I'm really happy to compete next year in the FIA Games.
Wow, some great competition there from all nations, and it's so good to see that there's a potential 90 nations competing in 2022.
Yeah, amazing, really. I mean, in 2019, where there was 49 nations, I thought that was exceptionally competitive. So almost close to doubling that now. I think it's going to be very exciting to watch, and I can't wait to get there.
It certainly will be. And the ASNs put in so much work to get competitors ready. We wanted to hear from the president of the FIA Drivers' Commission, Tom Christensen, and he sent us this message.
Dear friends, I saw it myself in Rome in 2019. The FIA Motorsport Games is an amazing event. As president of the Drivers' Commission, I'm really happy to see it back on track, as the FIA Motorsport Games meet some of the key values of our commission: talent and versatility. The drivers will need to show these qualities to do well in all disciplines scheduled. But your nations certainly have plenty of talent, and I'm sure that you'll be putting together the best national team possible to ensure your drivers do your country proud. This event has been designed to ensure everyone can take part, whoever you are and whichever country you come from. There's a category that's made just for you. As drivers, we don't get many competitions to race on behalf of our country. Personally, I was lucky enough to do so in my career, and I have some very fond, lasting memories of that time. I look forward to see most of you next year.
A great driver and an ambassador of the motorsport. It's so good to have him as president of the Drivers' Commission.
Yeah, absolutely. Nice to see that Tom's so enthusiastic about the games. I saw him in 2019 on the Chariot. Maybe he'll enter in some other style this time in 2022. But yeah, it's got all the right people involved, and I think it's lining up to be a fantastic event.
Now, an important element of the event are the team captains, and we would really like to encourage all ASNs to nominate someone who will be the national team's spokesperson and ceremony's flag bearer, as is the case with the Olympic Games. Chris, the organisation that must go into each team's entry is just mind-boggling.
Yeah, huge amount of coordination, of course, filtering through drivers and entrants and picking who's going to compete to represent the country. I mean, it's no easy feat, and yeah, absolutely, it's a lot of work just getting there.
Would you be a team captain?
Who knows, maybe 2022. 2019, I don't think I was ready, but now a lot more experience, maybe.
We can now welcome Klim Gavrilov as he spoke to Gemma Scott about the Games and his incredible win at only 19.
Klim, at just 19 years old, you took gold for Russia at the inaugural FIA Motorsport Games. Did you feel the pressure right up to the finish line as Giles Magnus was in front of you in Sunday's race?
Yeah, of course it was hard. I had a lot of pressure from Tom Cornell. He was behind me and he was fighting for second place as well. So it wasn't an easy one. I truly felt the pressure there.
Let's look forward to the 2022 FIA Motorsport Games. You'll be defending your title. Who do you see will be your biggest rival?
We'll see. I don't know, actually. It could be everyone, anybody.
Thank you so much for talking to us today, Klim. We'll see you in 2022 at the Games.
Thank you. Thank you.
Another hopeful and someone that is making waves in motorsport for all the right reasons is Belen Garcia. Belen, thank you for joining us and welcome to the show as we take a look back at 2019's finals and also look forward to what we can expect for 2022. Now, 2019 was when you made your F4 debut. So how was it for you to be part of the FIA Motorsport Games?
It was very big. I mean, it was an honor to be there. I wasn't expecting that, and it was very, very surprising and very big. So I enjoyed that a lot. It was like I had no pressure because I was just enjoying, I was just fighting for it, and it just came all together, and I'm very happy about it. It was very enjoyable.
You've also since competed in the W Series and the Formula Renault Euro Cup, and you must be encouraged how things are changing for women in motorsport.
Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, we were a few just in Vallelunga that year, but I think for the next years we will be increasingly more. And I think that's a very good, place to be showcased. And I was very pleased to be there, and I was very pleased to see another female in the TCR category. And yeah, it's a pleasure to be there.
Now, motorsport isn't your only sport. You're also a registered competitive pole vaulter. So how did you make that switch from the athletics track to the racing track?
Well, I made it badly, because in 2019 I was still jumping, so I was trying to combine everything, and I would still want to combine everything, but it's so difficult to study, to race, and to compete in another sport, so I had to decide, well, I have an opportunity in motorsport, so I need to go for it, and I need to take it, so that's what I did, but I didn't really ever decide to quit pole vaulting, and I want to go back, but I don't have the time, so I didn't quit, but I can't jump.
Now, you were the first woman to win an FIA single-seater race, so how does that feel to be a role model for other young girls?
Well, I don't think a lot about it, but I think about the girls that have been there before me, because, I would have never expected to be the first one to win a race. I would have never expected even to race. It was such a surprise, and it's amazing that I'm here now. So what I think is, well, I might have been the first, but I won't be the last. And I don't want to be the last. So the thing is to encourage other girls to do the same and to go for it. And, never stop.
Well, we wish you good luck in your racing, and we look forward to seeing you in 2022. Thank you for sharing your memories of 2019 with us.
Thank you so much. I'd love to be there.
So great to see Belen doing so well and hear her passion for the sport, as well as being proficient in other sports as well. Was pole vaulting part of your training to become a driver?
Yeah, I mean, amazing to hear that she's so talented across the board in sports, right? I mean, who is a professional in two sports. It's quite rare, I think. I mean, very inspirational girl. I didn't know that she was the first girl to win an FIA race, so that's very impressive, and I hope to see her in the Games in 2022.
Well, we're delighted to also welcome one of the most recognisable faces in the world of motorsport, Felipe Massa, as he adopts the role of the FIA CIK president. Felipe, thank you for joining us. Now, what is the importance of the inclusion of karting in the FIA Motorsport Games for you?
Well, I definitely think the inclusion of karting in the FIA Motorsport game is very important, because in most of the categories starts by the karting. So in Formula 1 and in most of the other professional categories in the motorsport starts in karting. So I definitely think karting is very important, and also for the karting driver it's very important to be inside motorsport games.
Do you think it's important and beneficial for young drivers to be around all the different disciplines that are in the motorsport games?
Well, we cannot forget that most of the karting drivers, they are young, they are kids. So I think when you include the karting driver in the FIA Motorsport Games, it's like a dream for them. It's like such an important event, such an important race that you can include all of the different countries, but also the karting drivers, you know, to be there and to live their dream, and especially by being competitive there is such an important thing for them, but also to be there is very important for the experience as well. So it's definitely, I really believe that for the karting drivers, you know, to be there is like a dream. And I'm sure Motorsport Games will be improving year by year, and will be definitely be a fantastic event year by year, and more difficult year by year, with the inclusion of many countries every year. So I think that's really fantastic.
Felipe, thanks for joining us. It's good to see you.
Thank you so much, and see you, all of you there in the 2022 FIA Motorsport Games.
Such a legend of motorsport, and we're so lucky to have him involved as a true ambassador of the FIA Motorsport Games. It's just great to have him here, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, a guy like Felipe, like you said, known by everyone in motorsport and so passionate around karting. I completely agree with him. Having these guys in the junior karts now competing in sprint and the endurance karting, I think just including them in these events is going to make them very happy to be there, and also it's aspirational too. They'll see Formula 4 going around, they'll see GT, it's exposing them to the whole world of motorsport, and I think it's a very exciting thing for them to be part of.
We're privileged to have been able to catch up with Tom Coronel as he talks about his family history in motorsport as well as his own incredible achievements. He caught up with our own Gemma Scott while racing in Barcelona recently.
Tom, what was it like representing your country in the inaugural Motorsport Games?
I'm proud of my country, where we have fast race car drivers. Karting is quite big in the Netherlands. And of course, then if I can present my country, I like the Motorsport Games because all nations are there. It's for everybody the same feeling. Nobody has an advantage or a disadvantage. You know, it's all in the same tent. The vibe is there. And when I came with the Dutch young blokes, you know, because I'm already 32 years in motorsport, it's nice to support them, to be there with the Dutch flag and to present my country in orange, of course.
Looking forward to 2022, is there anybody coming through to represent their country from touring cars?
You know, I missed already this year the Motorsport Games because I was really looking forward to it. Because of the atmosphere there, because of the big show, the pre-show is amazing when you're there with your flag. Of course, I already talked to the organization in the Netherlands. Said, please, can I be there again? You know, to be there as a touring car driver. But I recommended many drivers to be there. But no, I can see it's growing, and I would advise everybody to do it because I think last year it was one of my best races. You know, I didn't even finish on the podium. I was P4, but the battles, the vibe, the whole feeling with everybody there, I loved it.
Sounds like a really wonderful achievement to have been part of the first Games experience and representing your country.
Yeah, because I also didn't know what to expect the first time to be there, but the outfit, you know, when you arrive, the big screens, everybody in the same tent, it was like a small village just for only us as touring car drivers. Everybody the same tent. Everybody opened the tent. Everybody was in a plaza around it, and then also to be there in the competition. But not like for a championship or for something else, but for the Nations Cup or Olympics or whatever you want to call it. I would say I'll be there as long as I can be there, because as a race car driver, it's one of those things, the bucket list things. You have to be there.
I'm sure your bucket list is almost checked off. It's wonderful, but thank you so much, and we can't wait to see you back next time in the 2022 FIA Motorsport Games.
I will be there the next 20 years. Don't worry.
Well, someone else who knows more than a little about racing and the games themselves is the host commentator for the 2019 event, David Addison, and he wanted to give us some insight into why the Circuit de Paul Ricard is the perfect venue and setting to host the on-track action next year.
In October 2022, Paul Ricard will play host to the biggest motorsport competition of them all, the FIA Motorsport Games. The full circuit is nearly 6 kilometres in length. It has that famous Mistral straight, over a mile long, but that in itself has 2 optional chicanes. So depending on the category, you can slow the cars down accordingly. And of course, those chicanes offer more overtaking opportunities. But at the end of that Mistral straight, there's the dauntingly fast senior right-hander. It's a place where track limits are often frowned upon if you get a bit carried away. But it's also a corner that sorts out the brave drivers from the rest of the pack, because you need real commitment to gain time through that part of the circuit. The pit straight itself is long and fast. The first section of the lap is tight and twisty, some slow corners there. The last sector again has lots of looping corners that seem to go on forever. It ends with a first gear right-hander, the Virage du Pont, that brings you back onto the start and finish straight. The different layouts of the circuit lend themselves to the FIA Motorsport Games because you can have different configurations of circuit. You can even have more than one competition happening at the same time. Drifting was a big hit back in 2019, and the drift community will be here again in 2022. We're here in karting as well. We had the karting slalom at Vallelunga in 2019. It's going to be a great weekend as we celebrate the world of motorsport coming together after too long a break. Join us.
Yet another ambassador of motorsport there, and someone that has commentated on pretty much anything with wheels. Well, Chris has stepped out for a moment to make way for the 2 people that envisaged, planned and executed the event we now know as the FIA Motorsport Games, even before it had the title, the FIA Motorsport Games. Please welcome founder and CEO of SRO Motorsports, Stefan Rettel, and the Director of Formula E and Innovative Sport Activities, Frédéric Bertrand. Welcome, guys. So Stefan, let's start from the beginning, because really the idea came from the GT Nations Cup in Bahrain in 2018. But why did you come up with that idea to have that motorsport nations competition?
There are a lot of Pro-Am races in Europe and around the world, and it was difficult, and we had to find something a bit special. So I had this old idea of promoting nations, and if we were putting 2 drivers of the same nationality in one car, and we were making the car a flag with the names, completely colored by the flag of the nation, with the name written all across the car, then it would really look like nations competing one against the other. That's how it started.
No, and it had such an impact. But Fred, then it was all about expanding the discipline, so it wasn't just GT. So how did you come up with that idea?
I think it came by itself, more or less, because we saw that it was successful and worked really well on the GT base, which is one of the most expensive category today. And we said all together that there was probably a potential to try to make more and to have many categories coming and to make the event becoming bigger, because having more categories, we can also enlarge the number of countries participating. And that was the idea start, I would say. And we said, okay, why not trying to create something where everyone is coming, and then we make the party really big, and we make an event where people really feel so proud of coming for the nation and not for any sponsor or not for any brand. They just come for the country and for the country they represent.
And why is that important for the FIA to have something like the FIA Motorsport Games?
What we really like at FIA, on FIA side, is that this event is slowly becoming the starting point for many countries for a sport activity. And that's really the goal, and that's really the target. We have very established categories, but within the concept, we created a lot of grassroots categories. Those categories can then be taken by countries, even with not a big amount of competitors today or a big amount of competitions. They can start in karting, they can start in cross car, they can start in many small categories where from there they can develop their national team, they can develop a national activity, and from this activity they can slowly create a big national team and come to participate to the event.
So what can we expect for 2022?
While preparing for the next edition in Marseille, we saw a lot more interest from the national sporting authorities wanting to be there, to some of them are really working to be there in 18 different categories, having a real team, all dressed in the same way, carrying the flag. I mean, that reminds you certainly another big sporting competition. And we see that now the interest is there. And as I said, it's really what we want to work is to prove that with these 18 categories, we're covering most of motorsport.
But in general, we want to go bigger. I think we want to go bigger in all the type of organization we will put in place. The location with the track of Paul Ricard is just perfect to have something great. So we will make it as big as we can. Number of categories increasing will mean that we will not be only on the track. We will also have an event located in Gap for the cross cars and for off-road activities. We will have the rally happening on the roads of the south of France. So all this together will make the event growing also in terms of touch points with people, and we would like to have a lot of public coming so that people can really enjoy the show and enjoy all the program. On 2-3 days like this, I think you can nearly see everything what motorsport can propose.
So that's the second Motorsport Games. What about in 2035? It's a way ahead, but where do you see it going?
We want it to be popular. Our development plans was to do the first 3 editions in Europe to establish it because it's easier. You have a lot of local teams, and most of the participants, even when they come from the 4 corners of the world, they use material and teams in Europe. But of course, the ambition is then to move to other continents and to gather interest from many different countries and cities around the world. And if we can then open it to other categories, not just auto racing, that of course something we'd like to do.
I think what is for us very, very clear is that we first want to make this 2022 event a big success, because we are all expecting that so much, and it has been so much preparation, so that we hope that this one will first of all be a great success. It will be the proof that we can grow and have all those categories with us. Step 2 is really on working on number of ISNs and countries participating. If we really can manage by 2035 that not any ISN looks to miss it and wants to be part of it, that will really be the big success, that no one wants to miss this event, because it becomes something you cannot avoid to be part. You cannot be outside the system. That would be really good. And if on top of that it helped each of them to develop national programs and to see newcomers into motorsport, because something different is existing, because additional categories maybe we don't even know today are proposed at that time and are able to offer more opportunities to join the Motorsport Games and I would say the global motorsport community. That would be the great achievement.
Stéphane, Fred, thank you very much. It's great to hear back about what happened in 2019 and what is yet to come. Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Chris has joined me back in the studio. Chris, thanks for being with us for this 2022 preview. Can't wait to see what the Games has to bring. But there is one last surprise in store, and that is the official 2022 poster reveal to mark the start of the journey to Marseille and the return of the FIA Motorsport Games. So, Chris, would you like to do the honours?
Well, it gives me great pleasure to unveil the new poster for the 2022 Games, and I, for one, can't wait to see what the event brings. One thing's for sure, it's not going to disappoint. So let's see the official poster.
Oh, that's incredible. You can really capture the vibrancy of the area that the games are going to be held with all the different flags as well. And you can see the historic rally cars.
Yeah, absolutely. I can't wait to be there. Very exciting.
And we can't wait to see you there either. But thank you very much for joining us in the studio today. It's been a pleasure to have you with us.
Thank you. Pleasure to be here and looking forward to the games.
And with that, we say good luck to all of the entrants, and we'll see you in Marseille in 2022 for the return of the FIA Motorsport Games. Goodbye.